Hi, my name's Steve and today we're going to look at reversing. Not all that difficult if you've got the skills down. So like normal, we're going to look more at getting the skills right, which makes the techniques easier than just winging it and hoping it. So looking at the first technique, so big look, little move. So we don't want to be firing the car back in reverse, so we're going to just do little move, have another big look around, little move, have another big look around. That's going to help us then to not miss our point to steer in whatever maneuver or parking or whatever that we're doing. So worth noting that the mirrors are great for seeing the straight lines behind you, so where your line is, where your curb is, whatever it is you're using. And the shoulders are great for seeing what's coming in from wide. So especially in car parks, if you're going up the car park looking for a parking space and you start reversing back, there's going to be loads on your sides. Every single one of those spaces could be a car that's about to pull out, or a pedestrian walking through the car park, cutting through to get to their car, or someone just driving straight through the car park across the spaces, which does happen. So mirrors for me, shoulders for them. Keep an eye on both, see what's going on around you. Second skill then is going to be this stop and check, or stop and drop. So if we're not sure where that line is anymore, or where the curb is anymore, if you can't see it in that mirror, drop it down, left or right depending where you're going. Absolutely fine to do that, but make sure you are stopped so the car doesn't roll off while you're doing that. Each time you stop, well, let's go back to our first skill, let's have another big look around and make sure it's still safe. That's it for that one. First two skills then overlap into this third skill, which is slow car fast steering. So still nice effective steering the way you do normally, but if we are stopping and we're doing little moves, we're sort of automatically at a speed where we can get that steering done before the car rolls away into the next space or goes a bit too wide or whatever it might be. So combining those three skills, we can do pretty much any maneuver, and that's what we're going to look at today. Okay, so this is our first technique. We're going to reverse back into a space. I'm going to go on the left. First thing we want to do, as we get the car moving, so we're going to dip the clutch back down. What we want is information. If I dip the clutch back down and the car carries on rolling back and picking up speed, well, that's the hill taking us down. I'm going to keep my clutch down and come over to the brake. I can still control that and keep nice. Little move, big look, only now I'll be using the brake. If I put the clutch down and the car just gently rolls to a stop, well, that is great. I have done a little move and then I can have a big look and carry on. And should I put the clutch down and the car starts rolling forward, well, now I'm trying to reverse uphill. Great, I know that and I can feel that now. So what I can do, I can bring the clutch back up to the biting point, or if I really need it, use the handbrake and set up again. So we're going to give it a go. So I'm going to reverse back, having a big look around. As soon as the car gets moving, well, that's the hill, so I'm going to come over to the brake. It's my little move, have another big look. I'm going to reverse back until, you might see it this side, but I'm going left, so I'm going to use that side. I'm going to get a white line just sitting halfway between my body and the steering wheel. That is the midway point of the car. Just from my view, that looks like that white line is going to come through here. That's perfect, that's exactly where I want it. At that point, I'm going to have another big look around. I know I've got to swing the car out. I want to make sure it's safe. And I want to do slow car, a little bit of movement. Big steers all the way into that space. I want it to go left, so I'm steering left. Having that little stop's giving me time. If it's picking up speed, I can slow it back down again, especially as I come towards straight. I don't want to be firing past that point. So here, just rolling the car a tiny little bit, which will give me time to work out when I am straight, and I can start taking the steering. If I do need a little bit of adjustment at this point, again, if I'm stopping and dropping the mirror like we talked about, then I'll be able to do that. I'm pretty sure I'm in, but just gonna have a check and include still looking around behind me. I know I'm only gonna go to the middle of my space, but if the car behind is slightly out of their space, or like some of these spaces here, there's a sort of tree or a block or a bollard in it, well, I just want to make sure I'm not going into that. So I've had that big look around and just going to go Like we said, if the midpoint of the car is here, I'm just going to go till I'm sat in the middle of the car, of the space. So there, halfway between my body and the steering wheel, or sat in your lap if that's an easier reference to look at. That's it for that one. At this point I'd ask a few questions of a learner. Was it in control? Yeah, it wasn't picking up too much speed. Were we looking around? Yes. Are we in? Yes. If we're not sure if we're in, what can we do about it? Well, we could open the door, we could drop the mirror, or if we absolutely had to, we could get out and check. Much rather do that than crash into something for not checking. The final question there then, oh sorry, final two questions. If we're not in, what would we do? We'd move out, readjust and come back in, making sure it's nice and safe to do that. Final question then being, what if something comes along up down the road, starting to move out of a space while I am trying to reverse back? Let's stop, let's see what they're up to, let's see if they're going to be safe. So test standard is stop, my standard is stop and look at them. That little bit of eye contact can personalise that situation and help you work out what they're about to do. If they're looking angry and looking like they're going to carry on firing past you, yes, they stop, let them go. If they stop and give you plenty of room, give you a nice little smile or a wave or something, well yeah, we'll still look around and make sure it's safe. But that's probably going to be a good clue that we can get going. That's it. Okay, now that we've practiced that first technique, let's look at another way of parking. That first technique, it's okay. It's got two really good qualities going for it. One, it's great for learning these skills. We can get slow car fast steering and get used to just steering the car fully into a space. And the second one being that if you want to test, an examiner tells you to move out of your parking space, turn 90 degrees to the right, and then reverse back into a space. Well, you know how to do that. Any other time though, on the way into the car park, maybe I could line myself up better to not be at 90 degrees, and that might make my life a little bit easier. So if on the way up the car park, if these are my spaces on the left there, I can start angling my car away as I drive in. Well, automatically now in my mirrors I can see where those white lines are. So this next technique, I'm going to wait until I get a white line coming just past my door handle. I can have a big check, make sure it's safe. This time instead of swinging in, I'm going to swing away from that space in first gear. Once I can see that space appearing in my mirrors, I can then go big look around, into reverse, slow car fast steering back the other way, and the whole time coming back, because I've angled away from it, I can see that space in my mirrors. I'm still checking around, making sure it's safe, but I've also been really clear with the other cars. If they've seen me point my back end away from that space in first gear, they can probably work out what I'm doing. I'm going to be reversing back into that space. Also helps me to see that space in those mirrors like we mentioned just now. The whole time I've been pointing my car at it before I even started reversing, so I know I can see it. That means I'll be able to see if I'm getting too close to a car one side or the other, and like I said, I'd be nice and clear with everyone else that I'm swinging out ready to swing in. I'm going to wait until it's safe to swing out, and I'm going to wait until it's safe to swing in. But it's given me a much better opportunity to position the car to be able to see and know what's going on, and we much prefer that. Okay, so last one, we're going to see if we can put those skills together into other forms of reversing. So we're going to reverse around a corner, and we're going to reverse into a parking space like a driveway. Okay, so we're going to see if we can put those skills into use to reverse around a corner. It's going to be exactly the same skills. On approach, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to have a big check. I'm going to think about signaling. There is a car behind, so I'm just going to give them that little bit of a signal. Now, if it looks safe, I'm going to start positioning the car out. They can probably now work out what I'm doing. Have a big look around, make sure it's still nice and safe. All I'm looking for then is that straight point. I'm now straight with the curb, so I'll straighten up. And as I start coming past the curb, I can then add a little bit more steer. If I'm straight with the curb again, I'll straighten up again. And then as I come past the curb again, I'll start adding some steer back on. And I am now straight with the curb, having reversed around the corner. We're going to see if we can do the same sort of thing again. This time we're just going to be reversing onto a driveway, and I've positioned one of the cameras so you can just see roughly what I'm seeing in the again, got quite a lot going on here, so I'm just going to start positioning over if this van will give me the opportunity. I'm going to start working my way out now that it's safe. Once I can see the problem in the middle of my mirrors, I'm going to start steering around that obstacle. If I get too close, I can always take a little bit of steer off. I can always pause and check, making sure it's nice and safe. Again, this quiet little village hasn't quite turned out to be it today, but there we go. I mean, it goes to show, if I'd rushed myself there, then I potentially would have caused problems with the van, in front of a police car, and then with everyone watching. That's not going to be a good plan. We're better off to just pause and check, and then position out when it was safe, and again coming back, taking our time, making sure it's safe. And especially if it comes to smaller and smaller spaces like parallel parking, I'd potentially rather, you know, completely stop, get out, do what we did there, a little bit of acknowledgement to everyone, and then carry on when we're ready. Okay, so that was our reversing. Thanks for watching. Just a couple of little points I want to quickly run through. So first one being, the first time we tried to reverse when we were doing that 90-degree parking, a car did try and come up behind us. You might have seen me just wave someone on to let them know they could go past. They didn't know what we were doing. They didn't know if we were just about to go into reverse and park, or we were about to drive off, or which way we were going, left or right, whatever. So they might come up close behind, and that doesn't give us much room to reverse. So that's why we much prefer trying to angle the car where we can, and then they can see, and we don't actually need as much room because we've got most of that turn already done. So that's the first one. Second one then, my quiet little village, turned out there was a road closure, so there's a lot more traffic than normal going down that road. We still take our time, we still make sure it's safe. There's no point firing the car back and panicking. Only going to cause ourselves problems there. If you need to stop and acknowledge people so they know that you're aware of them but you're not rushing for them, if that takes the pressure off, yeah, feel free. Anyway, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Hope it's been helpful, and I'll see you on the road.